fears by politicians. And don't think that at the top of your government, that in some organizations and think tanks in this country don't think it's a question of ignorance towards Islam. They know exactly who you are, for whom you work, what you do and what you don't. They know. And sometimes they are going to attack you and pretending they don't know. Or tell us about violence, tell us about jihad. They know exactly. They want just to attack you and to pretend not to know. And you waste your time being reactive. While you have to respect the people who don't know and face the people who are playing with their fears. And this is something which is so important that we see now some Muslims, they are confusing everything. They talk to the people, the speeches that should be sent to the politicians, and they speak to the politicians as if the politicians didn't know anything about Islam. Some don't know and some know. And we need to get this picture corrected and better understood. And this is your job as American citizens. Ordinary citizens at the local level, you should know how to work and get a vision. What are the priorities here in Dallas? This is your job. So let me tell you something. What is said by the populists, by the Tea parties or the far-right parties, all these parties that are now trying to make Islam a non-Western religion, they want to marginalize us. And there is something that we need to avoid, and we need to avoid it in a clear way. What is said and what we understood when we studied what was the attitude of the Prophet ﷺ in Mecca. He was rejected by his own people, and he carried on speaking as all the prophets before him, all the messengers. Ya qawm, you are my people. You don't like me, you don't want me, but I want you. I want to stay. I want to spread the message. He had to leave when it was quite clear that they wanted to kill him. This is not your situation. You live in this country and there is something that you have to avoid. Anything which has to do with the victim mentality is not Islamic. Never nurture a victim mentality. Oh, we are the victims, you don't like us, and we change our attitude to please the people. There is here a sense of priority. We are not here to please the people, to change our religion, to make it acceptable. We are not here to become moderate Muslims, meaning for some Islam without Islam. We are not here to feel victimized. We are here with our humility, but our pride. We are here to remain Muslims, and we are Americans and Muslims at the same time, and that's it. Look, I need to remind you of something. Once again, it's something that I'm saying everywhere. Think about it. When you like what is said, please just be silent for 10 seconds and think about it and meditate. But what we just heard is better than to clap. Your emotions are making you forget what you are clapping for. Just think about it. And then the second thing is, as I'm always saying, it's brotherhood. Help me to avoid being happy with what I'm saying. It's not good for my ego. So it's doubly good. Having said that, the point for us is to avoid the victim mentality. It means that if we want to avoid victim mentality in such an atmosphere, it's important for us to think about how do we teach Islam to our children? How do we teach Islam, and how do we speak about Islam in this society? This is a critical point. It might be that the way we talk about Islam, the way we are saying us versus them, the way we want to please them, could create, without us being aware of it, an inferiority complex. An inferiority complex is the starting point of the victim mentality. Be careful. Be careful with this, is how do we teach Islam to make it something which is, I feel good as a Muslim, I'm proud of my principles, without being or feeling that I have to please the people. And this understanding of self-respect, of confidence, self-confidence, is the way we should teach or understand Islam. And I'm also saying this for our sisters. You are quite lucky in the States. We are not facing what some of your sisters are facing, for example, in France, when wearing the headscarf. It's a problem. We don't face this. But be careful. The pressure is there. And the pressure is always putting you in a situation where you are pushed to act to please the people. What is important is to understand that we are not here to please the people, but we are here to teach the people some of the principles and some of our values. So it's a sense of, I'm not here by accident, I have to give much more than to please. And by giving, the people are going to be pleased. The second thing which is important, in everything which is done by all these parties, and the Tea Party is doing exactly the same, if you get what is behind the way they are talking about the President Barack Obama as being a crypto-Muslim or not being a good Christian, is to say he's not one of us. And the second point is, one, to avoid victimization, and the second is to avoid accepting to be put on the margin, to be isolated from the society. This is exactly what they want, and some Muslims, unfortunately, they don't get it right. They are falling into the trap. They say, oh, the best way for us to remain Muslims is to isolate ourselves from the society. This is exactly what the Tea Parties and the neoconservative want. They want you to feel isolated, and even to self-isolate yourself, to be self-segregating yourself from the society. And this is where you have really to do exactly the opposite of what the psychology would push you to do. Psychologically speaking, of course, when you are attacked, the best is to isolate yourself. I am not going to be involved in the society because they don't like me, because they don't want me. So I'm doing my job. I have my Islamic schools, I have my Islamic organizations, we are among ourselves, we are happy, and that's it. This is the wrong reaction. This is the natural reaction, but we know by our teaching that some things that are natural are not right. Violence is natural, is not good. Spirituality is to educate your nature to become spiritual. So we know that it's natural, but it's not good. So everything which is Islamic, everything which has to do with the Islamic spirituality means you have to educate yourself and to go against nature, to go for more spirituality. And now we come to what was said at the beginning of the evening. And then you get it right. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم. Think about that. Because we are repeating this, we have to fast. And fast is prescribed upon us the way it was prescribed to the nations and the religions before us. In fact, the last revelation is telling us, every one of us, you are doing and you should come close to God through fasting the way all the other religions were called and they had to do it. And in fact for us, the final message is bringing us in the middle and reminding the people what we are doing is not only good for us, it's a good message for you. So it's exactly the opposite of accepting to be on the margin, is to understand Islam as the final message, helping the Muslims to understand that anything which is in their message is part of the other messages. And the fact that we are fasting, why do you think that all the religions, and by the way, not only Judaism, not only Christianity, all the spiritualities, they are all having as one of their prescriptions the fact that they have to fast. The Buddhist, the Hindu, they are all fasting. Why? Why is it so important in anything which has to do with our relationship to Allah? Fast. Why? Because there is a message here. And this message is a spiritual message. Is you are not going to be a human being if you don't work on your heart, if you don't work on your body, if you don't work on your nature. Anything which has to do with Islam is a good human being is an educated human being. A good human